Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for today. I have a great interview for you because you know what? While we have not been able to get Medicare for all done on a national level, Chuck Pennacchio and one payer states, they're working hard as hell to really get it done. And guess what? They actually have a bill in Congress. I repeat, they have a bill in Congress sponsored by Rokana and Ed Markey. So we are in good shape. It looks like we could get some headway on the state level, which is what we're going to try to do. But beforehand, let's go ahead and introduce all our great people. Welcome aboard. Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome aboard. Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Upstate New York, we have Deb Denny. I can't remember where you're from, Deb Denny. Lee Grant from Montgomery County. We also have in the house Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. We also have El Senor Michael Rudnin, who is where again? Michael Rudnin is in Brooklyn, New York. And guess what, Michael? I think you're going to love the show because at the end, I'm going to be playing that Carl Rove piece, which you're going to like. Who else we've got in the house? I'm scrolling down back. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. We are active. We are ready to go. We are going. Okay, let's go ahead and read some of the stuff that you guys pointed out before I go to the interview. Michael says New Jersey news staunchest Republicans of all goes nuclear on Trump. Yes, he did, but I have a little caveat to that. I'm not going to read all of that, Brandon, because I'm covering that on the program. We also have Paul Fleming says, Katie, sidebar. This is a telling statement from Judge Cannon. She's telling Jack Smith that she will not rule on jury instructions at this time and will wait until trial and the presentation of trial defenses and evidence. It is time for her to be removed, and I think he'll do that. He'll go to the 11th Circuit to do that. The timing of that means Cannon might wait until after a jury has been sworn in and jeopardy attaches. Once jeopardy attaches, a criminal defendant cannot be tried a second time for the same crime. This is exactly what Smith is trying to avoid by having Cannon rule on the jury instructions at this stage. Cannon is sticking her finger in Smith's face and telling him to do something about it, and I think he will. I think he's going to 11th Circuit. Michael Ronan said, surprise, Egberto, you already got the news ready to go. Hey, brother, you know I try to keep up the spar, but you guys keep me on my toes, which is a good thing. Paul Fleming says MSNBC legal counsel Lisa Rubin on this new Judge Cannon ruling. You might see the special counsel office taking this order as a basis for seeking the writ of mandamus about Judge Cannon and perhaps seeking her recusal here because for the first time in such sharp language, she really showing a bias or a prejudice against him. Exactly. Bridge MCP says this federal judge will not dismiss the charges in the classified documents case against former President Donald Trump, who argued that he had the authority to take classified or sensitive documents with him after he left the White House. That guy, I tell you, I saw this. A short order from the U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon on Thursday leaves open the possibility that Trump could still use the argument that he was authorized to keep the documents under the Presidential Records Act, which is stupid, to defend himself on trial, or could bring it up in other pre-trial proceedings. Cannon didn't detail her view on the claims Trump is making about the PRA, but said Trump's attorneys did not meet the legal standard to dismiss charges. She wrote that prosecutors make no reference to the Presidential Records Act in the indictment against Trump and did not rely on the statute to bring changes. The judge also pushed back against special counsel Jack Smith requests that she makes a final ruling on whether the theory can be used at trial so that prosecutors could appeal the 11th Circuit. She said that demand was unprecedented and unjust. Nope, that's not unprecedented nor unjust. Maywood is in the house from Long Beach, California. E2247 is in the house from all over, and he brings us the stats that must be read. Day 181 since October 7th, at least 33,073 Palestinians killed, 98 persons more than day 180, at least 75,668 wounded, 91 persons more than day 180, equal 108,741 casualties. Thank you. Let's see. Paul Fleming says you should have another source other than MSDNC. Nice way of using the letters instead of MSNBC, but it's you. It's you. Here early today, ask Egberto anything this Saturday. Of course, we're going to have a Ask Egberto anything on Saturday. And I am glad you reminded me. Please, folks, go to politicsdoneright.com/ask Egberto. politicsdoneright.com/ask Egberto. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that link in the feed as we speak so that you can go ahead and sign up. It is free of charge. Ask Egberto Politics. I'd love to see more of you in that Zoom. We have a good time. We have a free time. We get to talk. If you want to turn your cameras on, we have fun. Hey, Paul, you should consider coming to that also, my dear friend. All right, what else have we got here? What else have we got here? I put that link in there to sign up. Mike Cisak says, Paul Fleming, perhaps, no, that's another, perhaps Jack Smith threatened Judge Cannon because he doesn't have a case. That wasn't a threat. That was saying, do your job. That she is a sycophant. That's what she is, a sycophant. Egberto, MSDNC just means the network is a cheerleader for the Democratic Party, as Fox is for cheerleader for, so we should call it Fox RNC. Anyway, folks, let's go ahead and get busy and get started with let's see what we're going to get started with the interview with Chuck Pennacchio. I want you to listen to this because Chuck also has an ask for you guys. He has a directive for you to do after he's done with the interview because this affects us all. So let's go ahead and what are we going to do? We're going to get busy right this minute. Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Today we are honored once again to have Dr. Chuck Pennacchio, the co-founder and president of One Pair States and the founder of Justice for All Network. Folks, he has a great piece of announcements today. First of all, Chuck, welcome to Politics Done Right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Egberto. Thank you for having me again.
Well, look, this is important. As you know, healthcare is not just a pet peeve for many of us. We know that for the entire country, it is existential, and we also know that as the corporate control, as people start using our healthcare system as just a widget to make money for the few, it creates a big problem. You've been working very hard throughout this entire country in trying to establish some sort of a sensible healthcare system. Go ahead, first of all, and tell us a little bit about yourself to remind those who know you and to enlighten those who don't about the kind of work that you do.
Right. Yeah, just on background, I've been doing social justice work since I was really a kid, 13 years old. I'm now 64. I'm in that donut hole before Medicare. Worked on environmental issues, peace and justice, labor organizing, won a labor union at my last workplace, and got into healthcare after running for the U.S. Senate back in 2006 in Pennsylvania. And out of that race, and people said, gosh, Chuck, we're sorry you lost. And I say to people, we didn't lose. We built a movement. We built a statewide movement. And from that, we built a national movement, which gathers around this group we call One Pair States. And one payer is a reference to single payer, but it's a way of saying single payer without scaring people off because it's a trigger for so many people out there that they hear single payer. But one payer actually opens the conversation, and we can then explain to folks what the benefits are of creating a single payer, improved and expanded Medicare for all type system for the nation. our group, One Pair States, we're a group of 25 states, a consortium of 25 states, working to adopt universal healthcare systems at the state or regional level. And our work has been enhanced by the recent introductions or reintroduction of a House bill by Ro Khanna, HR 6270, and Senator Ed Markey. For the first time, we have a Senate bill, a companion bill, same exact legislation is in the process of being introduced in the Senate side. We just picked up Elizabeth Warren as our first co-sponsor, so the bill is ready to be introduced in the next day or two. State-based Universal Healthcare Act. And what it's designed to do is to get the waivers. It's called a super waiver bill that will get money back to the states as well as legal protection. So I'm probably getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but I relocated to Washington, D.C. last September to work on this full time, and I have been for the last 6 months. We're making great headway. We have 29 co-sponsors on the House bill. And again, we're getting to work in the Senate. We just picked up Elizabeth Warren, and we have several more prospects, both in the Senate and the House. And our intention is to get this bill passed in the next Congress after the
Ex-
Democrats take power.
Excellent. Now, why don't you tell us a little bit about the intent of the bill? What do you want to accomplish with the bill? I don't imagine it's a full-fledged Medicare for all, but it's a new approach, a bite-wise approach that we're taking. So why don't you explain what it means to what will it mean if passed?
Yeah, well, we often refer to it as Medicare for all through the states. The idea here is that the states model Medicare for all systems, single payer, universal health care, guaranteed health care for everyone, comprehensive, quality, where you get to choose your provider rather than being slammed by an insurance company. So it marginalizes the insurance companies and it puts the patient back in the center of the conversation. The patient and the provider make the decision. So it's the same concept. In fact, Pramila Jayapal, who runs the National Medicare for All bill, previously ran this bill, this legislation. She loves this legislation. In fact, most people who study politics in the United States think that we're probably going to get to national Medicare for all through the adoption of it and modeling at the state or regional level. And this is, in fact, how Canada got to national Medicare through one province, Saskatchewan. So
Yes.
this is our theory of change. This is our organizing model, and we have a strategy to win.
Now, so tell me what does it entail? What are you going to do? What specifically are they going to do and maybe in a specific state that is ready to adapt it?
Okay, let's start with Oregon. Oregon is arguably the leading state in the country. It's a state with 8 congressional districts, which means it's about 3.5 million people. We would prefer to have a larger state start out, but this is the state that's leading the way. And what Oregon will do very soon is be in a position to apply to the Health and Human Services Secretary as provided for with this legislation. They put an application to the Health and Human Services Secretary demonstrating that they've got the legislation to implement a universal healthcare system. And the legislation, the state-based universal healthcare system, Universal Healthcare Act, requires that states get to 95% coverage after 5 years and that they get to 100% coverage shortly after that. In order to do that, what the waivers would do if the Health and Human Services, the secretary will set up a panel to vet these proposals, this legislation, to determine whether it's serious or not. Once it's approved, the waiver dollars will come back to the states, the federal dollars. So states pay into the national coffers, right? They pay into Medicare, Medicaid, children's insurance, federal employees, TRICARE for military.
Military.
So all of these monies will come back to the state, and the state will then create a pool, one pool. That's just the concept of single payer. You create an
Wow.
efficient one
Yes.
pool, and that administrative efficiency will allow the state to deliver universal health care cheaper, better, bring back communities, bring back hospitals. It's pro-business, it's pro-family, it's pro-schooling, because people currently pay a chunk of money in property taxes, and that money will disappear. They don't have to pay that money anymore, to property taxes that go to pay healthcare for school employees. This universal healthcare system will wrap around everybody. So the dollars will come back to the state, as well as what's called an ERISA waiver. This is getting a little bit in the weeds, but if folks want to
Oh
Google
no,
it,
I know the ERISA very well. In other words, that you don't need that anymore. Actually, go ahead.
yeah, right. Well, what we want to do is get an ERISA waiver so that businesses are required to participate. So
Right.
this Employee Retirement Income Security Act that previously precluded states from meddling in any way with business benefits for their employees, including healthcare. So this is an
Hmm.
important provision of this
Right.
legislation. Yeah. So that's the design.
That is excellent because I mean, right now we have all these different pools of different healthcare, right?
Right.
When you talk about having the TRICARE, then Medicare, then Medicaid, and all these other things that have to be managed differently and have so many hands involved, you've removed all of that, pool all the money together. The state gets a waiver that allows them to do that, and then ensure that every single citizen in that state has healthcare. Similar to Canada, you have one card that entitles you to healthcare and everybody gets it. Is that magical or what?
Every other country in the industrialized world, the advanced industrialized world, has got a universal healthcare system, some variation of single payer.
Right.
Every single one has got coverage for all of its citizens. We are the outlier, and our citizens suffer. We pay twice as much and get a fraction of what other countries get.
And Chuck, the magic is this: is doctors' bills go down. They no longer have to have all those employees in that office to figure out what insurance company they need to get, what insurance covered this, what insurance doesn't cover that. That's gone. No
Right.
longer do you have to have all these different entities that you have to get pre-qualifications for, etc. You have standards that you run by. The insurance companies, the profits that would normally go to the freeloaders and what we call the parasites are no longer there. So instead of having all that money go to things that don't control healthcare, we now bring all that money and it gives everybody healthcare without the overhead that we have that creates several CEOs, several databases, several presidents, several of all these other things gone.
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
and the patient gets to choose their doctor, their
Right,
hospital. The patient is in control with their doctor. Who
right.
can ask for more?
Yeah, publicly provide or publicly funded, mostly privately delivered, where you have that choice. That's the beauty of the
Yes.
system. It's a hybrid. In fact, anybody who is even a centrist or center right should adopt this because it makes sense. It's a fiscally responsible approach. It's the only fiscally responsible approach on the horizon right now here in the United States. The other thing that it does, well, it allows us to bulk purchase pharmaceutical drugs, right? So we can bring
Yeah,
down the cost of pharmaceuticals dramatically by pooling our resources and negotiating down the prices, much as the VA does, right?
right.
Same thing with medical equipment. Medical equipment is the cost of it is through the roof. These MRIs, the cost of
Hmm.
an MRI in the United States is multiples higher than it is in Europe and Japan, way above, like
Let me
10, 20 times. Yeah,
I want people to understand this, right? The MRI pricing and the pricing of all these things are psychological mumbo jumbo. If I am inside of a hospital and I look around and nobody is using the MRI machine, I could just go ahead and stick myself in there, ask a friend to turn it on, run this stuff off. It doesn't cost a damn thing other than electricity. But when you see it on your bill, it's thousands of dollars. My
right.
wife just had a kidney biopsy. The total cost was $27,000.
That's crazy, crazy,
Okay,
crazy. Yeah,
$27,000. Ozempic costs 89 cents to make. They sell it for $936. Whatever. WeGenic, which is a double dosage of Ozempic used for weight control, 1,300 plus dollars. How much does it cost? $4 to make.
wow. Yeah,
Okay,
that's nuts. That's nuts.
my friend, you are doing the supreme being's work in fighting for making sure that the average American citizen can have the health care that they want. And what it's important is for us to carry that narrative so that the insurance companies that are about to get on board to attack this, so that the drug companies that see the light that they won't be able to be parasitic on the people any longer, don't
Absolutely.
get the hold on to the Americans. So it is important that you get your message out there, my brother Chuck Pennacchio.
Yeah. So what really, so you're really describing, we're describing here what I call the four horsemen from hell. And you can use that phrase if you want. The four horsemen from hell: big insurance, right? Big
Mm-hmm,
pharma,
mm-hmm,
the big medical device industry,
mm-hmm,
and the big hospital industry.
mm-hmm.
The big hospitals are swallowing up all the independent docs, right? And we're losing contact. We're losing quality healthcare delivery because independent doctors it's struggle just to survive in this environment. So our system right now is becoming radically privatized. I think as folks probably know, but they need to know that Medicare right now is being radically privatized through the so-called Medicare,
Medicare Advantage.
but we call it Medicare disadvantage
Exactly.
because it doesn't it's on the face of it, it looks great. It's affordable for almost, for most folks. But when you actually need healthcare, good luck. Good luck. You're in trouble.
I had a friend who just went through the whole scenario with Medicare Advantage, and you know what? The hospital says it's best for you to go back on traditional Medicare. You know what's the problem? Traditional Medicare, they by design only pays 80%, and they want you to pay the 20%. And when you go back, the Medigap that fixes that problem,
Right.
which is many times if you have a pre-existing condition, you have to go back through what's called reauthorization. I mean, you have to go back through the tables that determine what your risk profile is and
Right.
makes it unaffordable. Folks, first of all, let me just here tell our audience a very important thing. Do not spend the extra money if you have it. Get Medicare, standard Medicare. Do not get Medicare Advantage, which is nothing more than a racket. It's nothing more than parasites trying to live off of the taxpayer dollars and not giving you care. Continue, please, Chuck.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, these are the action steps, right? Can we move into that, what we want folks
Yes,
to do?
please do.
Okay. Contact your members of Congress, the House of Representatives, and ask them to get on with HR 6270. That's the state-based universal healthcare act that's being run by Representative Ro. So HR 6270, state-based universal healthcare act, and also contact your two U.S. senators at this point and ask them to sign on to get on board with Ed Markey, Senator Ed Markey's introduction of the same bill on the Senate side. We want this to be a resonance across Capitol Hill. We want this conversation to percolate up. This is a bill that actually has the prospect of passing in the short term in the next Congress, because depending on how you frame it and discuss it, as we've done today, it is fiscally conservative. It saves money. It costs less. And at the same time, it delivers quality, comprehensive health care. And why? Because as you said, Egberto, it marginalizes the insurance companies. It gets these big hospitals out of the racket of consolidating practice and ramping up the costs on the patients that are coming through the door. It controls the costs of the medical equipment, and it brings all of this into synchronicity. And this is the kind of a healthcare system that we're after. So contact, the shorthand is 202. I think it's on your website, 202-224-3121. That's the Capitol Hill switchboard. Ask for your member of the House, your two senators. Get on board with state-based universal health care act. We're going to pass this after the Democrats win in the fall, the next year. We're going to pass this, and we're going to get states like Oregon, Washington, Minnesota, New York, Maine, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, adopting these systems and modeling. And then the magic is that these states will then become magnets for businesses that want to come in and do business in an environment where they're not paying through the nose to get health care for their employees. They want to be in an environment where they can actually predict the costs year in and year out, so they can actually budget and invest. So this is really, it's a dynamic economic stimulus. It's a jobs creation bill. beyond being a comprehensive healthcare provider for all of our citizens. It's going to keep doctors in the system. Many of them are frustrated and retiring early. A lot of young would-be doctors who want to get into it don't do it, or they get in thinking they want to be general practitioners, and they start looking at their medical bills piling up, their tuition bills, and then they don't go into general practice. They don't go into family medicine. They go into a specialty where they'll be able to pay down their bills. So that there's a shortage of primary care physicians because of the costs of healthcare and the way that it translates in terms of medical school. So all of these issues are interconnected, and we are doing, as you said, the critical work. We break out on healthcare, and we have the belief, once again, people then believe that we can do anything in this country. Go back to what John Kennedy said and said, we can light a torch for a new generation, and then connect our healthcare issues with all the health issues. And we look at the intersection of health issues, which is housing, policing, climate. Believe me, this is the vision that we have of a universal justice for all. This is the idea, is that we get healthcare, we bring all of the components of all the other health justice movements together, and we have the political power to win on every front.
Chuck Pennacchio, that is so important. And I want to add one corollary, and that is, imagine if businesses can concentrate on what they created their businesses for. They don't have to worry about their employees' health insurance, health care, because that belongs somewhere else. Imagine that. But anyway, let me tell you, Chuck, I always end this way. What would you like to say, or what didn't I ask that we need to get out there?
Well, I would just repeat the action steps at this point. This is why I'm here working on Capitol Hill. There are hundreds of lobbyists for all of these different medical industries. I am the designated single payer lobbyist in Washington, D.C. at this point. I mean, this is what One Payer States is committed to, is having a presence on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. for the first time ever, for a single payer organization, a Medicare for all organization, universal health care. And I need help. I need folks to pile on from the outside to resonate with the conversations and the lobbying I'm doing on the inside. So it has to be an inside outside strategy, right?
And that telephone number again that they need to call for their senators and congresspeople?
202 224 3121. 202 224 3121.
And the
Capitol Hill
bill?
State-Based Universal Health Care Act. It's House Bill 6270. House Bill 6270. Once it's introduced, it will have a Senate number attached to it as well. But right now, you can still call your members of the Senate and House and get on board with the State-Based Universal Health Care Act.
Dr. Chuck Pennacchio, co-founder and president of One Pair States. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. All the work you do. Thank you.
And that is one of our most important interviews, because it also has an action associated with it. It has an action associated with it. Anyhow, folks, let's go ahead and read some of your stuff. Eric, look, don't put the long things like that in the chat. Put a snippet of it and then a link. That way it doesn't, because let me show you what you've just done to my screen, which makes it harder for me to read everything else everybody else writes. And already many complain that I missed your stuff. But you have to be, I beg of you, more considerate in what you post. You take up the whole damn page. So please consider being considerate, my brother. Please. Okay, let's see, where do I go from here now? Let's go ahead and get back down to my screen here. And before I go back and move this into the other page. Anyway, so please, brother, I ask you so kindly to be a bit more considerate in what you post. And I ask that of everybody, actually. Let's see what else we got here. I am so sorry, my brother. Uh, I know how you feel, May. I really, really do. So please accept our collective condolences from everyone here at Politics Done Right. That's all I can say. We our collective condolences. Let's see what else we got here that needs to be read. We have Bridget says someone remind Mike C he was not president then. Again, look, Bridge, don't forget what we said. Which items we were going to give knowledge credence to, and which ones we weren't. So yeah, actually that's a good one, Bridge. Actually that's a good one. Paul Plummer says the organization had emerged early this year as a potentially well funded force in the election. However, no label said Thursday that finding the right candidates proved to be difficult. I had that is a part of the blog for the show today and on Daily Coast about no labels not being able to find anybody, which, I kind of thought they wouldn't because whoever they fought would have been if Trump suddenly accidentally won, they would be blamed. But don't worry, guys. Trump is going to lose in a landslide. He will be losing in a landslide. Don't forget it. Remember, I said it first. He is going to lose, brother Trump, in a landslide. All right. What else we got here to read before I go to the other? Tom C said, "Sorry for your loss. It's tough losing a sibling. I know, I know, I know. I lost my father, not a sibling, my father a few years ago, and I still feel do you never forget the pain that you feel when you first get jolted, but later on you learn to live with it and remember all the good times. Sometimes I just sit back and look at videos of my father doing a little salsa dance. I would stay from upstairs and video him with my daughter dancing around. You remember the good times. That's all I say. Remember the good times. Why need immunity if there's no crime? Exactly. There you go, Breach. You nailed it, Breach. You nailed it. Our Paul Plummer says Dr. Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis 56 years ago today. Yes, he died while visiting the city in support of sanitation workers. Let's honor MLK's legacy by renewing our commitment to both racial and economic justice. And I've always had that commitment, and I recommit to that. My brother, let me put my right hand up. My brother Paul Fleming. But I tell you what was the thing that was the most macabre that night before he was murdered or assassinated, he gave a speech at, I don't remember the name of the church, where he said, I may not get to the promised land with you. He said, everyone wants to live a long life, but we all won't get a chance to live a long life. And then he also said, I forgot the words that he used, but it was so prophetic that a few hours after that, he would be murdered. I've heard, I've seen the speech before. I know it occurred right before he got murdered, but my God, it was so prophetic. It was so prophetic. Deb Dennis says Paul Fleming Sr. They never see the hypocrisy in their own words, trying to take the splinter that's in someone else's eyes while the logs are in their own. Lee Grant says the genre is by large a white cultural phenomenon. What genre is that, Lee? I'm not sure what that is. Okay. Eric A. Egberto, the medical community is not your field, so going on and thinking that MRI machine is like making coffees at Kinko's is laughable. I don't think that, but guess who don't understand an MRI machine? Let me tell you who understands MRI machines. Engineers do, physicists do, scientists do. You know who don't exactly know how they work? Doctors don't, because doctors don't have the exact physics behind what it works. So it might help you if you understand the distinction between bioengineering, doctoring, etc. Bioengineer comes and he say, you know what? I can figure out that if I send magnetic signals through your body because your blood has ferrous material in it and your bone has X amount less, etc., we can turn the waves that are returned into something. But I'll come back with that in a minute. Let me get this phone call first. This is Politics Done Right. Who do I have the honor of speaking with?
My name is Joseph, and I'm calling from Ring Central. Hi, I'm the newly
Hey,
assigned account executive designated
Joseph, I'm
for
on a
the Ring
show.
Central service for.
Joe, I'm on a show right now. So we may want to, I thank you first of all for calling, but I'm actually, you're calling into a live show. So we will want to do this an hour from now. Okay.
Okay, no worries. Sorry
Thank,
for the trouble. Thank you.
thank you. All right, let's go ahead. That's interesting. Anyhow, so going back to what I'm trying to explain to you, Mr. Eric Hayes, again, by now you should know that at this program, I try, if I don't know something, I say I don't know something, but if I do, I'm not going to apologize for actually knowing how stuff works. Okay? And so what I'm trying to tell you is the way engineering things get into the medical field is a bioengineer knows certain things about physiology, and they use their engineering and scientific expertise, which is a different training from doctors, to build these things. And then doctors and these engineers collaborate as far as how putting a piece of material in a body, how would it affect the immune system based on the doctor's knowledge. And it's a collaboration. Making a silly statement like I shouldn't say anything about an MRI machine because it's not my field is ludicrous, because some of my software was in several some of my ComDRV software is in several of those hospital equipment, like the pressure machine that sends its signal over an RS2. Well, they don't do RS232 anymore, but over an RS232 to the data. Yes, brother. Just to let you know, I did that. Thank you. So don't make assumptions. You make a lot of assumptions, my brother. All right, let's see what else we got here. The design is not, nope, doctors didn't make it. In fact, it first was made at my old university. Exactamente, corazoncita mía. You got it right, my dear friend. All right, the Oregon legislature has voted to repeal the state's 3-year law decriminalizing drug possession for personal use this month, joining cities from San Francisco, D.C. Oh, I didn't know that. I honestly didn't know that. Again, but something, Mike Cisak, we pass laws. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they are working but are still repealed because of political pressures. I don't quite have the numbers, but I mean, if for some reason legalizing some particular drug made things worse, I would look at the data and I would do the right thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Right? We try things, but one thing we know is the war on drug has not worked. So we have to try different things. Yvette Avery Harrod, thank you for liking the interview. Same about Bridge MCP. Let's see what else. Bridge, magnetic resonance MR is a medical imaging technique that uses a magnetic field and computer generated radio waves to create. Look, we know what that is. I know that. What are you trying to say? Like slices of medical use? Who cares who made it? she you apparently did, because you told me I didn't have the right to talk about it. So evidently you needed to understand how it worked. So Bridge did you a favor, my brother Eric. All right, let's continue. Michael said, "Oh, I'm gonna have to post shorter commentary." Then I thought it was shown as truncated until you click to check the whole thing. No, but I don't think I've seen you make a long commentary like that so frequently. But not only that, Michael, you have said there are times that you have said, "Hey, forgive me. I'm going to post this one long one and present it to me." But Eric has a tendency that he just throws the whole long damn thing. He did it 3 days in a row, but I get it. I get it. Eric, I love you, man. But that's all I'm saying. Not all the time. Okay. Let's continue here. Let's see. Bridge, Eric, no name calling, right? Sorry, breaking rules. Bridge, behave yourself. Oregon's Agriculture Department reversed burdensome requirements on small dairy farms, finding it was going to destroy tens of thousands of small farms in the state. Another leftist regulatory law effectively killing off small businesses, while large corporations could afford to cost the regulations that don't help their. Now, I don't know what that law is, Mike, but if they corrected something that made things more inefficient and at the same time didn't cause people to die, then that's a good thing. I don't have a problem repealing regulations that don't work or don't make things better, or are just regulations for the sake of regulations. So we're not going to have a discussion on that, okay? New U.S. diesel regulations rules 2024 by Biden set to kill 40% of the transportation and agricultural equipment. Leftist cities hardest hit as trucking will be curtailed and bring in needed foods and other supplies. So if the exhaust from all these diesel things over time cause you to get cancer, you're saying in order to, protect the bucks of a few people, let's just give everybody cancer, right? Wow. Anyhow, Egberto, you get those scam calls often. Actually, that wasn't a scam call. That was the people who created this stuff that allows me to take these calls over the computer, redirect the pots to the computer, and they were calling to as a what is the word that I want to use? They were calling as a courtesy. All right, let's see. MRI used the machine to point out your sickness. The engineer has small piece. No, the engineer actually made the whole damn thing. And then after the engineer made the thing, and not only the engineers and scientists gave you the ability to see everything. And then the because the doctor knows what the certain things are able to look like, they can use it on patient after patient after patient after patient. But the one who created the technology that made it possible were the engineers and scientists. It's just like the same reason I talk about Oprah Winfrey being a billionaire, and the people who actually allowed her to make the money got nothing, right? Oprah Winfrey gets the broadcast all over the world via satellites and all these things. Her talk show. I am talking and I get billions for that. Hey, I'm talking and getting peanuts, $10 here, 15 here, $30 here, which is I think commensurate what I'm doing, right? But she gets billions, right? And again, the technology you at least here, I know how to program this stuff that one I can use one person to do all of this, right? But Oprah knows nothing about programming. Oprah doesn't know how refraction of light works. Oprah doesn't know how the signals get to the transmitter and anything to do with that, right? But those engineers that did all of that, they got paid once. Oprah gets paid over and over and over and over again for using that technology. Shouldn't, technically speaking, a portion of everything she makes be distributed to the commons, given that all of us are responsible for all these technologies that are out there? I think it's only fair. But based on the capitalist model is inherently unfair. In other words, it doesn't give things the way they really should, right? Egberto, I often post long commentaries when I can find parts that need to be cut out. No, 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 no. Look, Rudnin, look, you don't need to change anything of the way you were doing it, okay? At all. You don't need to change how you're doing. The particular, I've never seen you send a commentary that took the whole damn page. What Eric did took the whole page. And Eric, I'm only using this as an example. The longest I've seen from you is about two-thirds of what Eric sent. I'm just saying. All right. All right, let's see what else we got here. Eric says small businesses destroyed in California. In Panera Bread exempt from $20 minimum wage in California. They shouldn't be. I think again, if you can't pay a living wage, you don't have a business. You have a hobby. All right. You're either not working hard on it yourself or you have a hobby. Mike Cisak says Twitter files. Brazil is engaged in sweeping crackdown on free speech led by radical left Supreme Court. Oh my God. All right. Michael Ren says, Egberto, as it comes to pollution and cancer, I'm always more worried about coal-fired power plants and transportation. Yeah, power plants actually let go some radiation that's actually found in coal as well as other sulfites and mercury and much more. Let's see what else we got here. Oprah is like Beyonce, is like hot girls that are famous. Did they earn it and deserve it? My answer is simple. Look, I love Beyonce. Well, I don't particularly like Beyonce's music, but I like Beyonce's chuspa. And Oprah too, and Bill Gates too, and I also like what's the girl that's a billionaire as well. I like her music that everybody the right wing loves to hate on her. What's the name of that? She gives away a lot of her money as well. Uh, what's her name? You know who I mean? Anyway, I know somebody's going to tell me who she. Swift, Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift, right? I love them all. Taylor Swift. Thank you, Eric and Breach. Right, but I'm just saying from a what allowed me to be a billionaire point of view. I've sent all the work that these engineers, and thank you also, Michael, that these engineers and others have done. They would not exist and they would not be able to amass the monies that they have. What I'm trying to say is all of us are responsible in a composite form of what some are able to concentrate on. In other words, Taylor Swift, Oprah Winfrey, Beyonce, they can accumulate a lot of money, a lot of it created on the wisdom of many others. And I'm not talking about the fans paying to see her. I'm not wanting to stop the fan from seeing her. I am saying that they are not, they are not responsible or absent a lot of the work they do, they would not be able to accumulate what they have. I mean, it's not an envy thing, it's just a statement of fact. Engineer develops vacuum tube. Vacuum tube using thousands and hundreds and millions of equipment, and one manufacturer, let's say TMR, one of them makes products on it, and those stockholders make all the money off of what that one engineer made, and he doesn't profit from it. That's all I'm saying. I don't think that's something to even argue about. It's just a statement of fact, right? And it's the way our economic system. I'm not blaming LeBron or Taylor Swift or Beyonce or Oprah or Bill Gates. They're playing by the rules. I am just saying the rules are not fair to those who create, right? That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying that the way we have mitigated a lot of that is having things like a 90% tax rate on income over a certain amount. Because we do realize in those days, people were smart. P did it to you. People were smart enough to realize that after you've reached a certain amount of income, you really didn't earn it. It is just because of the way capitalism work that allows you to multiply your money with little work. They are playing by the rules. No, but a lot of them are. Now, nearly all of them have found ways to cheat paying. No, no, I'm not talking about the taxes. I'm just talking about even if they paid the taxes that were due, they would still be billionaires. Now, I am against that, Mike Cisak. The squatters that move into your house and all of that, I think those laws are sick. In other words, you have a house sitting empty for 30 days in New York, and somebody moves into the house. They have the right to hold on to it until you go to court, and sometimes the court is so backed up, they can live in there rent-free for 3 years. And then if you really wanted to recover from something from them, you'd have to go sue them. I think it's sick. I agree with you 100%, dear brother Cisak, right? See, we can always find commonalities among us, can't we? Anyhow, let me play this last video for you. This is one that Michael Rudnin has been waiting for. Let's go ahead and play this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Karl Rove didn't mince his words. And we needed a whole lot more baseline Republicans to say this, because what they've allowed a lot of is, for some reason, they have left a whole lot of other Republicans stranded, timid, because we know they're timid. Everybody's scared of Donald Trump. But Karl Rove came out and said it in completely categorical form. In other words, he calls out Donald Trump for talking about releasing the terrorists that were jailed. Ironically, at the end of I tell you what, I want you to listen to Karl Rove, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Donald Trump continues to side with his supporters who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. The former president last night posted on Truth Social an audio clip from a choir of insurrectionist convicts singing the Star-Spangled Banner. Meanwhile, former senior advisor to President George W. Bush, Karl Rove, is calling out Trump for supporting the January 6th rioters.
What those people did when they violently attacked the Capitol in order to stop a constitutionally mandated meeting of the Congress to accept the results of the Electoral College is a stain on our history, and every one of those sons of who did that, we ought to find them, try them, and send them to jail. And one of the critical mistakes made in this campaign is that Donald Trump has now said, I'm going to pardon those people because they're hostages. No, they're not. They're thugs. I'm a Republican. I don't want to have a Democrat president. I want to have a Republican president. But we're facing as a country a decision, and everybody gets to make it, as to what kind of leadership we're going to have. And to me, it is a mistake on the part of the Trump campaign to allow the president's impulses to identify himself with the people who assaulted the Capitol rather than people who stand for law and order.
You know,
Wow.
just great clarifying language from Karl Rove, a guy who has been a loyal Republican his entire life. And he went on to say Democrats should use January 6th as a political issue. Damn right they should. And you know, Jen, I was talking about other cable news channels. There are some of the most prominent hosts on a certain cable news channel who say that January 6th is not a big deal. And Mika makes me watch this other cable news channel a lot, just to say you need to see what they're saying. And we were watching one show, and there was somebody, a host, that said, for some reason over on MSNBC, they actually think January 6th is a big deal. While other people on the panel were saying, January 6th is not a big deal. Let me tell you something. I have a lot of friends. I have family members who were all in for Trump. In 2016, they were all in for Trump. In 2020, and I've said it before, despite the fact he accused me of being a murderer, tried to get me jailed and executed, they still voted for Trump. You might say, what kind of friends are those? Well, perhaps one day I'll figure that out. That said, January the 6th moved a lot of them away from Trump. A lot of them.
Here's the deal. I hear Karl Rove. I understand Karl Rove. Karl Rove is really calling out Donald Trump. But then at the end of his discussion, he gives him an out. I don't know why Donald Trump's campaign allows him to associate himself with those terrorists. Well, the fact of the matter is Donald Trump created those terrorists, Karl Rove. So who do you think is going to stop Donald Trump from kowtowing with the terrorists he created? Come on, Karl. Why can't look? It is great that you call the guy out almost categorically, but it is terrible that even you, at the end of your discussion, have a little way out. It's not Donald Trump's fault. It is his handler's fault. And in so doing, you're taking away what you initially gave folks, the permission to really call out Trump and make a different vote. Well, I think they heard the first part, and hopefully everybody will remember what you said and forget about the handlers handling Trump.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Yes. Please join, folks. And we are coming close to the end of the program. So what I want to ask all of you is to support the program. How can you support the program? You can go to politicsandright.com/support, politicsandright.com/support. And that gives you all the different ways in which you can support the program. Now, let me just specify a few that we like. You can become a patron. We are short on patrons right now. So if you would go to politicsandright.com/Patreon, Patreon is spelled Patreon. Let me go ahead and pick up Ray Brackens right now. Ray, how you doing, my brother?
Hey, I just wanted to close us out real quick. I know we got a few minutes. So
Go ahead, my friend.
I heard what you said about
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So, as far as Mr. Trump is concerned and make America great again, I kind of had, I guess wisdom. If you want to make America great again, if there was some small pittance of greatness in America's past, let's go back to what Michael Moore said. Let's tax the ultra rich, everybody who's making a certain amount. I don't know whatever Elizabeth Warren says, may it 1%, 2%, 15% on all wealth in this country. But you know what we need to do? We need to pitch it to America like they used to do in those old credit card commercials when they used to say, a hot dog costs $20 at the stadium, such and such costs $20. And then revert it back to how much taxes we're not collecting from Jeff Bezos and the ilk of those wealth classes, and then make people understand what is the value of those billionaires' taxes within the greater whole of our economy, as far as what it could give us in health care, what it could give us for housing options. What could we actually do with that money if they would just unleash it?
I agree with you 100%. Don't have a problem with it. And I like the idea that you come up with on how we have to uh, talk it in a bread and butter manner to people. And I'm going to try to do my best to do that over the next few months, over the next few years, to try to let because the people, Ray, that you find defending the millionaires and billionaires are people that themselves are poor or low middle class. That's who you see really thinking that somehow those guys need the protection, even as these wealthy folks are having or passing laws that screw them. So we have to kind of bring that enlightenment, and thank you for doing that as well. So we're in the business together. We are in the and this business of activism that we care about our fellow man and intend to do something about it. So thank you, Brother Ray.
Thank you, brother, and keep on doing what you're doing.
You
I'll
take
be
care, man.
honest. I'm gonna get to the book. I just gotta get my mind right. Have a
I
great
get
day.
you, brother. You too, my brother. You too. Anyway, folks, to support the program again, one more time, you can support us via Patreon, politicsandright.com/Patreon. We would like to get a few more patrons in supporting up. You can also support us by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Those of you who become paid subscribers of our newsletter, hey, a coffee. Can you give Politics Done Right a coffee a month? Say, hey, I want to be a part of the movement. If we can get a few thousand people doing the coffee a month, that sort of a thing, we can actually do so much more. In fact, coming up, I have two things to go to that right now I don't know how I'm going to do it again, because again, you know how things are. A lot of things went down in the beginning of this year, but I want to get to the net roots again and the Democratic Convention to report from there. We'll see. We'll probably have to come with a GoFundMe for that. But there's so much going on right now that we need support for. So go ahead and please become a member of the PDR posse. As we expand, we can actually do a lot more. So politicsandright.com/newsletter, become a paid supporter. You help get our books as well. How do you do that? politicsandright.com/books. I have 5 books out right now. The latest one is a little bit off the political realm. It's called Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. It's a good book, easy to read, quick to read. I think you are going to enjoy it. Anyway, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view.
We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.